Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Just adjusting a few things here because some people have said they can't hear me. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil. Some versions say it tends only to harm. I believe the Greek says harm. Fret not yourself and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it only tends to harm. For the evildoer shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. In just a little while the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace. The wicked plots against the righteous and gnashes his teeth at him. But the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he sees that his day is coming. The wicked draw the sword and bend their bows, to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose way is upright. Their sword shall enter their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. Better is a little that has righteousness in it than the abundance of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. The Lord knows the days of the blameless, and their heritage will remain forever. They are not put to shame in evil times. In the day of famine they have abundance, but the wicked will perish. The enemies of the Lord are like the glory of the pastures. They vanish. Like smoke they will vanish away. Hello, ladies. I'm Mrs. German. Welcome to Homemakers Radio. I hope to leave you in a better mood than when you came. And we're trying not to talk about the war. Don't mention the war. If you remember that old Faulty Towers, Basil Fawlty trying to run the hotel and the restaurant, and there was a very sensitive couple there that had been through a lot during the war, and so he was trying to tell his staff, don't mention the war, and then he was so nervous that all he did was talk about the war when he was around them. And that is a problem here now, is that it's hard to go through a video or any kind of assembly together or any kind of family dinner without talking about the war, and it would be nice to talk about other things. But I will tell you first of all the reason that I created Homemaking Radio, because it's nice to listen to something. And if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of nice things, but you have to watch a lot of them. They're very pleasant. I love the homemakers, and I especially like the home design and home decor and garden design. But I have to look at them. And if you're really intensely involved in something in your home, this is the place to come. I don't have comments on my channel, but you may go over to my blog where this is embedded and watch it there in the midst of a beautiful page and leave a comment if you like. And so today I like to start out with appearance. And before you start doing your work at home, I would like to discuss appearance. You know, what is the biggest problem right now that we're all facing? It's stress, isn't it? But if you could look in the mirror and not feel stressed, if you could take care of your appearance first, it'll take away a lot of the stress. You'll find yourself just relaxing more. And so I would suggest you go in the bathroom, do what it takes to do, whatever it is your routine is, and do it well. And stay in there a little while until you feel really, really relaxed. You remember when we were teenagers and we first got interested in fixing our hair, combing it and curling it, and we would spend too long in front of the mirror in the bathroom, and people would be complaining in the family, how long does it take you to get ready? And then after we got married and had our children and had a busy house, we became more aware of the time that we spent in the bathroom, and it just became a lick and a promise. Go in there, splash some water on your face, tie your hair back, and get to work. And you could do that and get away with it, because if you're young, you still have the bloom of youth on your side. You really don't need to do anything to yourself. And a lot of you that are older and still have great skin and wonderful complexions and and you don't have any hair problems, you could do that. I can't, but I would say go in and spend a little more time. Spend at least half an hour. Doesn't matter if you spend 45 minutes to an hour. If you get up early enough, or you get up in time to where everyone else has already gotten ready. And some of you have more than one bathroom. I know when we only had one bathroom, I would take a shower and get dressed and then go into my room where I had my little dressing table, and that's where I fixed my hair. That way I wouldn't have to delay anybody that was trying to get into the bathroom. And so this takes, you know, your appearance is going to take away some of the stress. I'll almost guarantee it, because you're going to look at something that is in order, that's neat and tidy, and that would be you, and give yourself a smile and try to look like life is a blessing. And think about the some of the scriptures that I've read to you in the past that you could dwell on. You can take your little device in there, just don't take the media with you, and play some scriptures. There are some people that read scripture only that you could listen to, and that's what I do. I just go in and listen to that, and it's a wonderful way to, you could hear another voice, and it isn't going to be upsetting. So I wanted to say something about reducing stress, and one of the things is that when you're a homemaker, you know, you would think that, oh, I'm a homemaker, I'm away from all that. I'm away from the office politics. I'm away from the office gossip. I'm away from the workplace, all these rules and all the time schedules, and I should be able to relax. But it's amazing, isn't it, how people can put a little barb in their voice and say something that's quite digging and will be like an arrow shot into your chest, and it worries you, and you feel the stress coming on. They'll say something about, well, we can't all be as happy as you are. Some of us are taking life more seriously, as though, you know, you being home is just like you're just laying back and doing nothing. And they'll say some of us take life more seriously than that. And so they can make you feel stressed even at home. As much as possible, keep the stress out of the house, and that includes the media. Now, the media is not the Word of God, and they don't always have it right either. People have discovered this, and they've been caught a lot of times telling something wrong. And so later on, I'd like to tell you more about what I found, and just by going and looking at the source of something and how it was reported wrong. And so, but today, I would just say, for the appearance, reduces the look of stress in your face, and if you'll dress up nicely, you don't look so stressed either. And I think if you don't look so stressed, you actually don't feel it. And so it also helps other people to think the world is all right. You know, if you have children and they're growing up in this stressful period, don't they deserve a childhood just like everybody else? I've often said children need to have a happy, carefree childhood, free from worry and heavy responsibility. Now, is making them know what's going on all the time in the politics era, is it giving them a happy, carefree childhood free from all this stress? No, we need to focus on having them have a happy childhood. Now, my children are grown, but I do write to my grandchildren and try to send them something that has nothing to do with anything going on today. And they like history, they like the pioneer era, so I write them things about that and send them little things, and draw and make little presents for them and send them, so that when they get the mail, they are living in their own world that is happy and carefree, free from worry and heavy responsibility. And this takes a little stress off of the parents too, because it's always nice to have someone kind of help out, something to come in the mail for their children, so they don't have to provide every single little thing for them. And we're all on the same page regarding our beliefs, so what I send to them is usually very welcome. Now, you know that homemaking does take some determination and some conviction, and you know that there's a conviction when you can't be talked out of something. And as badly as over the years I've been persecuted, you might say, it never was enough to make me go the other way or to give up, whether it was on homeschooling or on the church or on being a homemaker. It was never enough. Or, you know, just taking care of my appearance every day. I like to wear skirts. If you don't, I don't mind. And but I do like to wear skirts. But no matter what anybody said to me, they'd say things to me like, well, I'd like to see you climb a mountain or cross a stream in that skirt. And I would just say, well, I'm not going to be climbing a mountain or crossing a stream. And why would you like to see me do that? Because what they're doing is they're intimidating you, because they feel that you're going back in time, and that going back in time is dangerous because it was such a terrible era. And they've been brainwashed in the public schools to believe that any of this genteel living was really hypocritical, and that these people were just cruel people that denied other people their rights. And so that is part of the problem. But when you have knowledge, when you start studying these different eras, and you start studying history, and you start reading the Bible, you discover that the past is part of our present. And if we didn't have the past, we wouldn't really know how to live like we do today. And so you start to develop a conviction that you can't be talked out of it, no matter how much they intimidate you. So today, after you have got your appearance taken care of and made yourself as good looking as you can, you know, I like to delay doing videos because I keep thinking I'm going to be younger, thinner, stronger, and better looking, and it never happens, so I have to give up. But we do our best, don't we? Now, what do you do if you're home? Now we're going into the homemaking era of the video here. I start out with appearance, and the second part is homemaking. Now, some of you are home, maybe against your will, because you had a job and you've been it's been closed down. So how do you use this time at home, and what is the best thing to do? Well, I would say, instead of sitting there waiting and being bored and waiting for things to change, you know, the world might not change. I decided a long time ago not to wait for the world to change. They're not going to change into your vision of it, so you can live it at home. And that's the advantage of being at home. There's nobody there setting down rules, making you walk on lines, regulating what time you do this or what time you do that. And there's so much more freedom. So you can use this time at home to improve yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, there's a verse that says, and Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with man. And that just covers it all, doesn't it? Wisdom and stature. Stature would be physical, so there's mental and there's physical. And favor with God and with man, and that's social and spiritual. And you could just analyze that. I'll try to write that down for you and leave the citation where you can find it. And Jesus grew, this was when he was younger, he grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with man. And you could take any kind of, there are Zoom courses you can take where you can learn something new, or just enjoy doing something. There are just many different things going on, and I'd like to introduce you to that because I joined a Sunday afternoon painting class, and it was Susan Rios in California. Well, I'm in her time zone. I don't like to join classes that are not in my time zone if it becomes too difficult. And so I sit there for 2 hours and we paint. My painting is not what I want it to be. It's not up to my own standards, but sitting there and doing it is so, it really does balance me and take away a lot of stress. And we know, of course, out there is a lot of stress. All you have to do is you have to go somewhere and get a few things for your kitchen, maybe some dishwasher drops or some things that you need, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and then you come home and you feel like you've been in a battle. You feel like you've been in a war zone. And as a matter of fact, I can't wear a mask because it makes me panic, and it also has I also choke, and and throw up, so I can't wear a mask. And but then twice I went out with a hat that had a veil on it, but the veil was actually very bad. I was amazed that something so porous could block off the air, because when I came home and took it off, I could breathe, but I was no good for the rest of the day, because it takes away so much oxygen to put something on your face. I was just wiped out. And I talked to one of the ladies that works in the fabric department at Hobby Lobby, and she said at the end of the day, when she gets home after wearing the required masks to enable them to work there, she said she's just no good for anything else. She's just like a zombie. She says it takes away all of her energy to wear that. And so masks are not good for you. And if you want to, you can wear them. I don't mind if you wear them, but nobody's going to make me wear one. Just, let's just all be nice to each other. If you don't want to wear one, fine. If you want to wear one, I'm not going to give you an evil eye or a dirty look over it or chastise you. I'm not going to go around saying, masks aren't good for you. But I would like to explain what I feel about them, and I want you to go to Peggy Hall at thehealthyamerican.org. I have posted some of her links on there, and she has a really good one called Should Your Children Wear Masks? And I know a lot of people make their children wear masks even though they're under 12, because they don't want other people looking at them and making them feel bad. So, but you need to go watch that. But anyway, I'm in Oregon, previously from Texas, and I went to the office of the governor, Kate Brown, governor, to the health section, and copied off several copies of this. And this is what it says. It says, individuals who have a medical condition that makes it hard to breathe, or a disability that prevents the individual from wearing a mask, a face shield, or a face covering, can request an accommodation to enable full and equal access to the services, transportation, and facilities open to the public. And I put it on a smaller card and attached it to this, and I can wear it around my neck, but I'm not going to even be able to wear the veils anymore. Although they don't, most people don't understand that a face covering is allowed and a face shield is allowed. So if you wanted to wear a little veil, you could, but they don't understand that. So even when you're at the door, someone's going to say face mask required, and you'll say this is a face covering, and they don't understand that face coverings are different, and there's no real definition for any of them. They don't say it has to be surgical. They don't say it has to be of cloth. They don't say it has to be of paper. They don't say it has to be disposable. They don't really, it's very broad, so you can wear whatever you want on your face. And I believe a Halloween mask could probably be even healthier, because at least it's got places you can breathe through. So this is what I'm doing now, and I am in such a hurry, and I have a deadline. I have to get home at a certain time. Out on the farm, you've only got so much time to water. You've only got so much time to do things, especially in the cool of the morning. And I like to get my laundry on the line while the sun is shining, so I don't want to stand at the door and debate with someone. So all I do is, they'll say face mask required, I'll say face mask exemption, show them this, and keep walking. Now, they don't like it, but they are not hired to follow me around in the store, chase me down, and throw me out. And they cannot refuse service, because I go into the self-check line, and there's nobody going to stop me there. And I try to stay away from people as much as possible, because it makes them nervous, but I will put this on the website for you, and it's very distressing. I understand that now. When people go to town, and all they're doing is maybe getting some little thing that they need, to stock their fridge, some fresh things, and they come home and they just, it is just like they've been attacked. They feel attacked. I know, because yesterday, after I got home, and I had worn the veil yesterday, I couldn't move. So I understand what this is doing. This is causing a lot of ill health for people, and this is not right. And the health department should not be issuing things like this that are bad for you. They talk about masks, but there was no proof that masks are effective, and there's no proof that they are good for you either. There's no proof that they don't cause breathing problems, and it was never really researched. And when you look up the health department and who's in charge of it, they're political people. They're not really doctors. Some of them have doctor's degrees in other things, but they're not medical doctors, so you need to check that out. Every single state has a gov.com, like Idaho.com, Oregon.com, California.com, .gov, Oregon.gov, Texas.gov, and that's where you go and you type in the health. You find the health section that they've got there and click it on and see what it says. And there will always be a little exemption thing there, and so you can do that. But of course, you know, the news media did not spin it that way. They said it was only, you know, that you're obligated to do it, and that it was an order. It's a guideline, not an order. And so that's why everyone's doing it, because they're listening to the media. And the media did not give all this information. The media should have read this whole thing like I read it to you, but they didn't. And so anyway, that's what I'm doing now. But basically, in order to keep the stress down, I'm going to stay home for a lot longer periods in between time, and I'm going to order as much as I can. But I am never going to wear a mask, and I'm not wearing a veil anymore either. So what I see is that the stores are being kept open, but people can't go in them because they're confined to home, and so it's an attack on business. Business can't survive without a customer. So there's something strange going on there. Do you remember, I don't have this on a DVD, so I haven't been able to watch it in a long time, but back in the days of homeschool, we had some of these videos, and one of them was called The Scarlet and the Red. Does anybody remember that video? And it was about during World War II, when some of the Marxists that had captured the Vatican, I think, had done a white line around it with paint. And this line, the priests and the people that lived in the Vatican could not walk outside of that line into the city. They only had to be in the Vatican. And of course, this one priest was just a master of disguise, and he would pretend he was delivering wood or something, and that he had just delivered wood, and then he would take his cart and go right over the line. And they were watching from the tallest buildings out the window with glasses to see, magnifying glasses to see this man, to see if how he was getting out. And he would dressed in his priestly garments and go stand next to the line and just kind of wave his foot over on the other side, but never step on the other side, and then look up at them. And it was quite an interesting movie. I'm not Catholic. I really enjoyed the just the courage that was shown in this against injustice. And I have a friend that I saw her at the grocery store, and she was not standing on the yellow, you know, they have these yellow lines, and they have arrows, and you have to stand on an X and all this stuff, and she wasn't doing it. And she said, it's because they're treating us like little kindergartners, and I'm not going to do it. She says, I've been here, and she mentioned like something like 60 years, and she says, I'm not standing on any X, I'm not standing on any line. She says, I'm all grown up, no one's going to tell me to do that. So she was walking around them, standing aside, not quite on the straight line. And then she was also going the other way when there was an arrow. She would go the other way. She would turn her cart around and walk it back, or she would just go the other way. And somebody said to her, some stranger said, can't you see the arrow? And she said, yeah, the arrow's going the wrong way. Actually, the stores don't hire people to discipline you, to chase you down and chastise you, and the people at the door hate that job. And it has a big recycling because they don't like that job. But it's very sad, isn't it, to see our country where we used to have businesses where the business and the customer had such a friendly interaction. The business wanted the customer, was kind to the customer, because that's where their paycheck came from, was from the customer. Now you have this tension going on between the customer and the people that are hired to work for the business. And the people that are hired to work for the business treat the customer like an enemy, and they're bossing them around, and we don't go in as a customer and boss those people around, and yet they are there to serve us. We pay them. And so that's completely backwards. So you have to wonder who they're really working for. But to get on to something more about homemaking, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about homeschooling, and I have it written down here. So don't just teach in homeschooling for knowledge. Don't just cram their heads full of knowledge, because what you're doing, because anybody could do that. Anybody could teach your children knowledge. What you're doing, why are you teaching them? Because you're forming a relationship, and children will form a bonding with those that they are around the most and those that they are learning from. And so you are forming a relationship. And remember, I said Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. And so this is what you want your children to do, is to grow in wisdom and in health. And I wanted to mention also that in health, not one size fits all. Not everybody can wear a mask. Not everybody can have the same kind of exercise or food. We all have different, some people are allergic to some things, so health is not one size fits all. I'll give you an example. When I was in public school, we had physical education classes. It was in the 1950s, and there was some kind of a government program that had been imposed on the schools for exercise program for the students, and the teacher had a chart. And on this chart, she had your name, and you had to do so many exercises, and she would check them off. But if you didn't do all those exercises, like if she had, let's say, 10 push-ups, and you could manage 10, you could manage 3, well, she would, you would get marked down on that. You would not get credit for it, and you would not pass the physical education program. Well, I was a very skinny kid, and they had this one-size-fits-all standard for exercise, and the exercise that day was very vigorous, and it was jumping jacks, and it was push-ups and things, and I was exhausted, and I did not know this, but my mother said that someone had told her that I had fainted. It was so bad that I didn't even know that I had fainted. Apparently, we were doing something on our backs, leg lifts or something, and I fainted. And I thought I had just, was laying there and it was time to get up or something, but I had fainted. And so she had to write a note to say that I didn't have to do all the exercises because they were too hard on us. And they would get us exhausted. In those days, they didn't say you had to drink more water. They weren't being really careful of your heart rate or anything like that. But this health program apparently was imposed on all of us. And what was so sad about it is that most of us were living on homesteads where we were digging potatoes, and we were weeding strawberries, and we were bringing in the crops, and we were helping at home, and we were carrying water from the lake to heat for a bath. And so we already were very physical and athletic. But these programs at the school were just too hard on some people, and they had the girls, I think they had the girls almost the same as the boys, but they were very difficult. And so one size does not fit all with physical education or physical things. And it's the same with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, is that the purpose of the mother teaching the child is she wants to draw the child's heart to hers, because these are your people. These are the people that are going to be, you're going to have a future influence on. You're supposed to be educating them in your religion and in your belief system and in your understanding, and using your head to help them develop. Here's another mistake that parents make that I've seen over the years, and that is your child will have a little problem with something, whether it's cleaning up their room or obeying something, or even some bit of schoolwork, and they'll ask for help, and their mother will say, well, you're smart. And it's such a hasty, sharp reply. They shouldn't be doing that, because what are we telling our children? We're Christians. We're going to go around saying you're smart. Do we tell our brothers and sisters in Christ, well, you're smart, you're smart? No, we are supposed to be competing with one another in love and good works. And so why not say you're good, or that's a good work, that's That's a loving and kind thing to do. Or we want to be pleasing to God, and you're very pleasing to your mother. And this idea of snapping, you're smart when the mother doesn't really want to help, I think it's just a way of brushing them off. And to constantly say, you're smart, I question that. I don't really think that that is very scriptural. I think that God doesn't care about smartness as much as he cares about love. Remember, knowledge puffs up, but it's smart to be kind and loving. It's smart to be helpful. It's smart to love your neighbor as yourself. It's smart to know God. That is intellectually smart. But I think that we too, as homeschoolers, sometimes focus too much on the mind. And God said you're to love God with all your, or Christ said, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. And people don't have any trouble with the heart or the soul, but with the mind, they elevate that. The intellect is so elevated above the heart and the soul. So be sure and educate your children's heart and their souls, and tell them you're kind, you're loving, you have good judgment, you have understanding, and let's stop that you're smart thing. I don't even see any example of it in the New Testament or the Old Testament. So now we're going to get into homemaking, and remember that if your children can learn at your elbow, whoever leads them is who they will bond with, and that's one of the reasons for staying home with them. Now, what I'd like to see people do, since home is the only escape we have now, is turn your home into a state and call it happiness, or call it something else, and have a name for it and turn it into a separate state, so that when you cross the border into your house, everybody feels an immediate sense of freedom, immediate sense of relief. I remember years ago there was a man that came to see us from some country that was going through some Marxism and was being shut down, and it was back in the, I believe, 1990s, late 1990s. And he had somehow got to come back to the U.S. and had a U.S. passport, so he was able to come back. But he said the minute he got off the plane, and he mentioned some major city, I think it was San Francisco at the time, he said he could feel it. He could feel the ambiance. He could feel the sense of freedom. There weren't policemen walking around. He just walked through the airport and got in a car and came. And there was no checkpoints. There were no that was before, all this bag checking and everything. But he said that he could feel it. Well, if you could make the border to your home, once they cross that border, they start to feel it. They start to feel, we're home, we're free. So make it into one of those free states. You've heard of the free state. And there are many ways to do it, and the best thing to do, I think, is make it look as pleasant as possible. Just like you take care of your periods, it takes away some of the stress. If you'll take care of your house, if you'll make that front door area and the front porch look nice, even though you might not see it, but somebody else sees it, it is a stress relief. And even your homemaking, as you know, I've turned the camera around a little bit because I've made some progress around here and taken away some of the piles of stuff. And I noticed that the room that I did finish cleaning up, it feels so good. It feels stress-free. You don't have to have state-of-the-art furniture. I've got mine all covered because it's still the old furniture we got from Grandma and Grandpa, and I haven't found anything that I want to pay a lot for. And so if you just neaten it and tidy it and clean it, and make it generally, learn a little bit about display and about presentation. Presentation is everything, they say, especially with food. And learn a little bit about things like that. In fact, food presentation is going to be one of your assignments for refinement. So turn your home into a state and give it a name. And another thing that I wanted to warn you about is when you're out. Now, most of us, I think, are gotten to the point where we want to order and we don't want to go out too much because it is very stressful. Is if you do go out and someone wants to call you into the office of the store or something, like, you don't go. Never go without someone with you. And if you do feel you have to go, say, would it be okay if I record it, if I put it on video? Because you don't want to get yourself in any kind of trouble saying something. I mean, it's like being a deer caught in headlights. You really aren't rehearsed. You really don't know what. Usually, I've noticed from church work over the years, usually the person that calls you to a meeting is well prepared. They've got all things covered. They've got all these points that they're going to bring out, and they won't tell you what it is. Would you mind meeting with me at such and such time? Make sure you don't even do that at church. Because as a homemaker, sometimes there are easy marks. If someone wants to start something, or someone wants to discipline or punish someone, or just be critical, it's best not to go to a meeting unless you have a copy of what they are planning on talking to you about. We've all been caught in situations like that where we didn't even know. Even if you have a family that wants to call a family meeting, make sure you know what's on the agenda. This is part of the people problem, is that every family and every homemaker especially is going to be dealing with people. Don't ever be called to a meeting unless you see what's on their list, on the roster, on the agenda, and always be prepared, because if they're calling you to a meeting and you're not prepared, they will get you to say and do things that you're not really wanting to do, and they'll get you to give up some things that you're not really wanting to. So don't be called to a meeting, especially in a store when you don't want to wear a mask, and when you have one of these exemptions, or if you are just wearing a veil, which is a face covering, and they object to that and they want to call you to talk to the manager. You make them make an appointment with you, or you refuse to go in, or you say, I will, but I'm going to have to record it on my phone. If you do, but I would suggest never do that without someone with you. And so we do a lot of things on our own, but when they find out that you are a homemaker, sometimes people think you're an easy mark because you haven't got a company behind you. You don't have any great authority over a lot of employees, and you don't have big money behind you. And so they find you an easy mark. That's one thing you have to be careful of. So I want to move on to being like the midwives. You know, the midwives in Egypt, they're such an interesting thing, because the government told them to do something and they didn't want to do it because they knew it was wrong. And so the government told them, when you deliver the Hebrew babies, kill them before they, before the woman knows. So what happened was they didn't do it, and so all these Hebrew babies were born, and the government was questioning the midwives, and the midwives said, well, the Hebrew women are so hardy, they're so strong, that the babies have come before we even get there. And if you are in, let's say you're teaching in a public school, or you're working in a place where you're told to turn people away at the door, or hand them a mask, or just tell them to tell them stand here, don't stand there, get back on the line, do this, do that, and I'm sure you don't like that job. You can say, well, I do know the rules, and I have implemented them, but people just can't be controlled. You cannot control everybody, and they're too fast for me, and they're out of the store before I know it. But think about the midwives. Think about the technique that they used to do what was right instead of what the government told them to do, which was not right. And I do think that you can figure out a way to make the customers and the people that work in the business friendly again, because we're losing that with all this, and that's what's not pleasant. Is some people who have gone to a certain store and given them their business for 20 years are now being treated like strangers. And it reminds me of a film we saw when we were in the 1950s. We saw an old black and white film. It used to be on the web, but it was taken off, about a little country school, and it was taught by one of the grandmothers, I think, and all the children knew her, and they were friends with her, and they knew each other's parents and the grandmother, and she was a very good teacher. But there was a new regime that took over the schools, and she was ushered out of the classroom, and the children were crying because of her. And the new teacher was young and pretty, but she was very, very Marxist, and the children didn't like her. And she said, "You'll get used to it." And so that's what's happening here, is that they've turned everybody into a police. And you know, one of the things about defunding the police is happening is, of course they can defund the police because they've made policemen out of everybody else. Everybody's policing everybody, barking at everybody, bossing everybody, like, do this and do that and stand here and go here and do that. And then of course, being the state Marxist government as they are, they will take the money that was allotted for the police and they will use it for themselves. And so today, though I have not tried to get through this video without referring to the war, I hope that I can encourage you, first of all, to get your appearance ready so that it does reduce some of the stress that you feel when you have had to go out. Now, I find that I don't talk about it as much if I don't go out there, and I can order some things, and somebody has been helping me figure out how to navigate ordering your groceries and ordering everything so that you get what you want and some of the things that you need to know about it. And one of the things is they have little sections there that say, if we are out of this item, would you like this next item? Make sure you know what you check, yes or no. And the other thing is to order early or in the middle of the night and to get your place in line. And so your appearance and then the home appearance, these things make your state a free state and a wonderful, comfortable state that you and your family will enjoy being in. And today I'm really, really enjoying being home, and I hope you are too. And another thing that's fun to do, I have heard, is people are getting on Zoom meetings and just visiting and having an appointment and just visiting, and that's something to look forward to during the day or evening. And you remember in the old homeschool days, we must have been really into this, trying to warn our children about a despotic government and communism and Marxism, because we also had a movie called China Cry, and I don't know if you remembered that one, but this young woman wanted to continue meeting with the Christians and worshiping God, and she was in China, communist China, and they were just clamping down on anyone who was considered in resistance to this because of the church. She wanted to worship with the church, and they weren't allowed to sing. Do you remember that part in the movie where they could only mouth the words? That's all. They were not allowed to sing. So when they were saying in Oregon that we weren't allowed to sing in church, I had to laugh because I remembered that movie. And hopefully our children, it wasn't too long ago that our children remembered that part, that they had to mouth the words. They weren't allowed to sing. And part of the reasons, of course, is they didn't want to alert the authorities, and there may have been other reasons for it. They weren't allowed to meet. And she was taken into interrogation, where they, see, in these interrogation businesses, what they do is they wear you down until you're so tired you'll admit to anything just to get it over with. And they'll wear you down, and they'll start to make you list all of your faults and all of your all the things that are wrong with you, and then sign a paper and that you had done that. And I don't know what that's called, self-criticism or something. But and you know, these things happen even without a despotic government taking over. These things happen a lot, and women need to be aware of them. But one of the things that they said to her when she refused to stop worshiping God and meeting with the Christians was, this country is entering a new era where your God will no longer exist and he will be locked in a museum. Now, when it was announced on some news media that there was going to be a park, kind of a memory park, a national park full of statues, so no one could harm them, and it would be in a park, and they'd make all these statues and these of these heroes and these historical figures and put them in a park. Well, who's going to go to a park and walk around and see these statues on purpose? They were better off on the street, and we would pass them. And in every town and every county, there's a statue of the person, or there's even pioneer statues of men and women with the wagon behind them in some of these towns that were established by pioneers and had their names on them. You start putting those in a park or a museum, they're just going to be lost to the world. What we need to do is see these landmarks as we pass, as we go, as we walk along. So they're still going to erase our history. Then the park will be shut up because of vandals, and then we won't be able to get in to see them. And I mean, they'll take the Statue of Liberty down too. They'll take everything, put it in a park, and then that's a separate realm, and then you won't see it in everyday life. But I always remembered in China Cry, where this commissar said to her, "We are entering an era where your God will no longer exist. He'll be archaic. He will be in a museum." So that's just something interesting that I thought of in relation to the experience that I had yesterday. It wasn't so much traumatic personally, but just the fact that it was so tense, and you're aware of all these movements that you have to make. There's so much to remember. And then, of course, I had my list. I had to remember to get everything on my list. And at every turn, I was being told you're going the wrong way, or, you can't enter here, or something like that. So it just reminded me of some of these things that I wanted to tell you about. Now, for your, let me see here. For your refinement lesson, I would like to remind you of this scripture: "Fret not, it only causes harm." I'll type that into, because that's stress, isn't it? I know the word stress, the word distress is in the Bible. So I'll have to look that up for you too and put that on there for you to write down, because distress is the same, I think, as stress. But fret only causes harm. That is thinking about something, and it goes over and over in your mind. Next thing you know, you're all stiff and upset. So the assignment is to prepare something to eat in a lovely way. Presentation is everything, so prepare it in a lovely way. You might have to do a little research on Pinterest for that, and or just use your own ideas, or your children's ideas. The children don't really need pictures to make them think of how things should look, or to envision it. And the other thing is to try a new tea. Someone sent me one a while ago, and I'm going to try it. She sent me a tea bag in the mail, and I'm going to try it. And it's one of these relaxing herbal teas, so I'm going to try that. So presentation, and then write in your notebook or memorize, "Fret not, it only causes harm." And so, ladies, I don't have anything else for you. I'm going to post a song for you. I'm sorry this wasn't all sweetness and light today, but I do hope you feel a little bit better. And watch the news media, because they are not, like I said, when I found this on Oregon.gov, the news media had only reported one thing and did not report all of it. And so just don't listen to them. They are not accurate, and they have an agenda, and so it's not to make you happy. It's not to make you feel peaceful. It's only to make you conform. And so we're supposed to conform to the Word of God. Remember that, and don't forget to pray. And I think I might have had that on there. That's going to be one of the songs for you to listen to today. And so I hope you have a lovely time, and can get your house looking peaceful, get yourself looking peaceful, and enjoy a new kind of tea, and repeat the little scripture that I gave you, and I'll hope to see you soon. Bye.